Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. Welcome to a video about Gran Turismo 7 update 1.31, and specifically we're going to look and discuss the new tyre wear model and why, in my opinion, it has brought back strategy to things like Daily Race C and GTWS. So here it is underneath the patch notes, underneath tyre physics. The one in the middle is what we're looking at there, optimised the tyre heating and wear model. So yeah, for me, probably the most positive aspect of a generally very positive and good update, because it brings back an element to the game that made me fall in love with initially Gran Turismo Sport and Gran Turismo 7, and that is strategy. But before we kind of look at a race where I think ably demonstrates the differences and the impacts that this update to the tyre wear model has brought, let's take a look at the story of the Gran Turismo 7 tyre wear model, because it has changed a number of times over the last year and a bit that the game has been out. So launch Gran Turismo 7 had a tyre wear model very similar to Gran Turismo Sport. I think it was a tyre wear model that everybody quite liked. I never heard anybody complain about it. The tyre wear was fairly low, the degradation was quite high in the terms of lap times would drop off gradually as you wore the tyres down, and this allowed for flexible strategies, undercuts and stuff like that. As I said, I think it was fairly well received, never heard anybody complain about it. However, PD being PD, with update 1.20 decided to go down the nuclear option and change the tyre wear model completely. These changes brought extremely high tyre wear, but with it absolutely no degradation on lap times. So you could actually run a set of tyres for even longer than you could in GTWS without any performance drop off whatsoever. It was a little bit ridiculous that you could run the tyres down to nearly 5% of their life and still set the same lap times as you could when they were fresh. It was a bizarre change to the game. It absolutely killed strategy, and for me it actually nearly killed the game. I didn't want to play the game when this tyre wear model came in. Thankfully it never lasted particularly long. I think maybe they listened to my video, I'm not sure. I've done videos on a lot of these tyre wear models, maybe I'm blowing one trumpet there a little bit, I don't know. But it didn't last very long, and update 1.25, which came along fairly quickly, the updates were coming out quite rapidly at that point, brought changes to the tyre wear model that rectified the worst of the problems of update 1.20. It wasn't a return to launch GT7, but it did fix some of the more glaring issues with update 1.20. Tyre wear was more kind of like medium, somewhere between launch and update 1.20. Degradation was limited as well. The tyres kind of performed pretty similarly for about the first 50% of the wear before the lap time started to drop off. And there was a return to some strategy, albeit limited, particularly when it came to soft and medium tyres like we have for this week's Daily Race C. Strategy was very, very limited indeed. When it was medium and hard tyres, it was a little bit better, but it still wasn't as flexible as it was on launch day. And that brings us to update 1.31. A very positive change as far as I'm concerned to the tyre wear model, and hopefully from the rest of this video I can kind of show you why I think this is going to be so beneficial for the game. So first up, before we move on to a race that I think very ably demonstrates the impact of this tyre wear model change and why strategy is much more of a thing, let's just take a look at how the tyres look prior to 1.31 and 1.30 at this week's Daily Race C after 5 laps with ×7 tyre wear. Fairly dramatic difference, I think you will agree. You know, we're looking at least longevity of about 40% better on 1.31 compared to 1.30. Basically after 5 laps, you know, your tyres were pretty much done on 1.30. After 5 laps on 1.31, there's still a little bit of life there and something to work with. And that change is going to have a fairly dramatic impact on the flexibility of the strategy. And I think this race that I'm about to show you here should demonstrate that quite ably. Now, I have made the fatal error here of starting on the soft tyres at the back of the grid. Now, I'm sure many of you have experienced this issue where you think you've changed the tyres, but for whatever reason the game doesn't really register it when you go into something else and you end up starting on the wrong tyres. And that's kind of what's happened here. I've kind of jumped into a different car, in this case but in the 2016 Lexus, not the preferred 2017. And for whatever reason I've not kind of made the change in the right part of the game for it to kind of register as a permanent change, and we are starting this one on soft tyres. Now at this point in the race I didn't even realise I was on the soft tyres. Had this been prior to the patch, my race would be absolutely over. There would be pretty much nothing I could do from here, because for two reasons. One, the tyres has such a short lifespan that there was just, you know, 5 laps is pretty much the maximum, or you could push them to 6 laps, but the 6th lap on the soft tyres under the old tyre wear model with 7 times tyre wear, they were so dead there was absolutely no point to it. So the maximum sort of laps you were going to really do was 5 laps on the soft tyres. Now the problem with that is that all these drivers in front of me would be starting on medium tyres. They're going till lap 5 as well, and yeah, I might be able to overtake a few of them over the first couple of laps, but look at that gaggle of cars. I'm going to lose time no matter what. At best I might overtake them and get 2 seconds up the road. But when it comes to the pit stop, and they're going to be pitting at the same time as me, I'm moving from soft onto mediums, they're moving from mediums onto the softs. They're going to just come back at me and overtake me, and yeah, the chances of pulling a result out of this situation under the old tyre wear model was pretty much nil. The strategy was so limited that everybody was just pitting on the same lap that, you know, there would be absolutely no way that I could get any kind of clean air from this situation. But with the changes to the tyre wear model, things are a little bit different. Now, it was around about this point I think I realised I was on soft tyres. I'm like, oh shoot, that's not so good. However, because of the way the tyre wear model is now, I kind of started to think big picture. I thought, well, you know what, these guys are on medium tyres. They're not going to wait till lap 5 to pit. They're probably going to pit on lap 3, lap 4. I can just look after the tyres here. I know I can make the soft tyres now last 8 laps with the current tyre wear model. So if they start pitting on lap 3, lap 4, I'll look after the tyres properly. Don't lose too much time battling with them, he says as he goes round the outside of a car into this tight corner. But the opportunity had arisen, so I kind of thought, you know what, let's get past them. But yeah, if I can just kind of look after the tyres, these guys start peeling off to the pits in laps 3 or 4, I can get maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 laps if I really look after the tyres properly of clean air on the soft tyres, put in some sensible lap times. Who knows what might happen to the other drivers during the race. They might start battling with each other and maybe recover a result from what was looking like a little bit of a disaster. Now, as I said, had it been the old tyre wear model, pretty much nothing I could do. The race would have been absolutely screwed. It was going to be a disaster no matter what. But with the new tyre wear model, there was a plan that I could hatch to try and recover something from this one. And by the time I pitted, maybe on lap 8 or 9, came out on the medium tyres, the drivers around me would be on pretty worn soft tyres, so I probably wouldn't even be at a tyre disadvantage either. So that was the plan going forward. We're up into P12 now. We've got a little bit of a gap between us. It's lap 3, and I'm thinking, okay, don't push too hard at this point. There's no point catching up to these guys. I just get into a fight with them, I start losing a little bit more time. They're going to be peeling off into the pits at the end of this lap. Once they start peeling off, if I look after the tyres as much as I can, then I start putting in the lap times, and we see where we end up when we eventually make our pit stop towards the end of the race. And so things worked out pretty much as expected. Cars started peeling off at the end of lap 3 and 4. We managed to get a little bit of free track from about the end of lap 4 onwards and get 4 laps in clean air, albeit with tyres that had seen better days, but we'd looked at them enough to try and put in some reasonable lap times. This car is not very fast, I must say that, but it does look after tyres nicely. I wasn't tending on doing a 9th lap on the soft tyres, but I could see the Swiss driver behind me, Rataka, catching me very, very quickly. He'd probably go for an overtake at some point during that lap. Might just cost me an extra half second. I didn't really need to lose, so we decided to come into the pits at the end of lap 8. But you can see there's still enough tread there for another lap had we really wanted to. So this was the moment of truth, pitting from 2nd place. Where would we emerge into the race? P5 win there, and Sasha, the German, just going past us into the turn 1 there. So P8, as I said, not too bad a result given we started in P16 on the wrong tyres and we were kind of merged in traffic for the first 3 laps. P8, I was thinking, I can accept that as a result given what we've done there. We're not in a fast car, but we've used the wrong strategy, we've started on the wrong tyres, but we kind of just didn't panic too much. We thought big picture, thought, you know, let's just get to a certain point in the race where we can start using these soft tyres, and it's worked out pretty nicely indeed. We've got a couple of laps here on fresh mediums. The drivers in front of us are on worn soft tyres. There might be a little bit of potential to maybe catch the German and pass him as well. Who knows? We looked like we had enough speed to keep up with them at this point, but we were to get a freebie courtesy of Wind, having a very strange accident. I had to go watch that one back on the replay. It was such a strange one when I seen it at the time, and even watching it in the replay, it's an odd moment he has on the curb. I've not seen anything quite like it, but the beneficiary of that was for us to move up into, as we call it on our live streams, P Wombo, and that is P7, because we just seem to finish in P7 all the time. Super GT's got P6, Tidgeney's got P4, and the cursed position, we've claimed P7 as P Wombo on our channel. Now we do catch up to the German here. We put him under pressure for the last lap, but he drove a good defensive lap, put his car in the right places at the right times, and held on to that P6, and we were to bring it home in P7. But yeah, I was very happy with how this one worked out, and I think it very ably demonstrates just the benefit this new tyre wear model brings to strategy. You've got the potential to extend your stints, there's undercut potential there, there's still an optimal strategy as well. I think the optimal strategy is probably 4 mediums, 6 softs, or maybe 7, 6 softs, 4 mediums, or maybe even 3 mediums, 7 softs, I think, for people who are a little bit better on the tyres. But you can actually pit on lap 1 now if you wanted, and make the soft tyres last 9 laps if you've got that ability. Again, it brings back that kind of being able to look after the tyres becoming an advantage, becoming a kind of a perk, if you like, because under the old tyre wear model, looking after the tyres just didn't have anywhere near the same advantage as it did back in launch day, and what it seems to have now. So for me, a very positive change to the tyre wear model. Strategy is back as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully I've been able to demonstrate that to you from the video as well. Let me know what you think in the comments of the changes to the tyre wear model. Do you like them? Do you disagree with anything that I've said during the course of this video? Constructive criticism is always welcome on this channel, and if you do comment, I will always get back to you and reply 99.9% of the time. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hopefully it's kind of put forward the point, or I've demonstrated my point satisfactorily to you. But yeah, we'll wrap the video up there. P Wombo, we finished in that one. By the way, the RCF 2016 has incredible tyre wear, I will say that. It's not fast though, it's not a fast car. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you on the next one. See you, bye now.